All good. Okay, so I'll get started. So thanks for joining, everybody. This is Access IT Automation's webinar for Evergreen IT Management. Today I'll be talking you through the basics of Evergreen Management, and if we have enough time, I'll demonstrate one of our pieces of automation at the end, which is our new to be released auto app launch testing, which installs, launches, loads an application version on various Windows 10 builds, records the success or the failure, and provides documented video evidence. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat mechanism during the presentation. However, there will be some available Q&A time at the end. So I'm David Butler-McAllister, the COO of Access IT Automation, and today I'll be presenting and demonstrating Evergreen IT Management. Tony Head, our CEO, is also on the call, and if you have questions at the end of the presentation in relation to our global reach of managed services, we'll be happy to answer those questions. So our agenda for today is as follows. What is Evergreen IT? Why is it important now? Some real-world use cases, some benefits and challenges, along with common pitfalls with ROI considerations and how to generally get started. So what is Evergreen IT? So the first time Evergreen IT phrase was mentioned was back in 2009 by PricewaterhouseCoopers. Their explanation was patterns of IT provisioning, architecture, and operational management designed to deliver integration between distinct layers of the IT stack. The goal is to transition IT operations from a predominantly manual to predominantly automated set of processes. Microsoft has since taken this one step further in recent years and have redefined Evergreen IT management to be running services comprised of components that are always up to date. The end goal for Microsoft is ultimately their cloud services. However, they're tackling immediate Evergreen with Windows as a service for managing their Windows 10 build updates, which we'll come on to a little bit later on. So we define Evergreen IT by making small, iterative updates to organizations' IT landscape on an ongoing basis, which in turn isolates those previous big bang migrations. This shifts focus and the mindset from keeping the lights on to a more innovative approach. We encourage organizations to be more agile, more competitive, and secure as their IT estate is now always up to date. To be successful, service management processes and the technology require investment and adoption of automation. What we have to appreciate across all industries is that adoption of Evergreen is not yet solely about the cloud. It's about adopting a mindset for automation and keeping services up to date so you do not create legacy systems of the future. We visualize and encourage a three-pillar approach to achieve an Evergreen IT management. The organization must have driven buy-in from its executive stakeholders, a dedicated team of people to implement and maintain the changes along with that continuous budget. The processes must be optimized and streamlined as they play a vital part in this change. Many of these processes can be automated. The technology requires a centralized command and control with smart workflows that encourage automation that ultimately benefit varied project management styles such as Agile. So why now? We're noticing accelerated adoption of service-driven technology, an increase in Agile development practices, not just for development of software, but organizations are pushing and adopting these processes and trying to change their staff's mindset so they can become more agile in nature. In turn, it means that they embrace small, constant but iterative change in a way that adopts themselves to digital transformation programs such as Windows 10 migrations, Microsoft 365, technology hardware, free refresh programs, and many more that you can see on the screen here and now on this next page. So real world use cases of Evergreen IT management generally are harnessed in these areas and use cases. So here are some of the many real world use cases where Evergreen can play a significant part in transforming the way which we change and the way that we manage modern iterative style programs of work. I'll step through my area of expertise, which is application rollout management, which touches on many of the other areas that are listed here on the screen. So to successfully implement a new version of an application owner needs to submit a package into packaging, needs to supply all the relevant hardware information, any licensing, any test plans, and users that this application needs to be rolled out to. So the touch points are necessary based on what type of hardware the application may need to go onto. If it's a physical or VDI device, has a huge implication on what type of technologies to be used, whether it's virtualization technology or containerization. The deployment mechanism, so the server infrastructure, also becomes paramount to the rollout of the application. So if you're using infrastructure products such as SCCM or Intune, they now are also on a cycle of iterative change and more frequent releases. And your application may also have a dependency or a need to integrate with Office-based products. So Office 365 also now has consistent feature updates and security updates and new versions of the product released a few times a year. So all of these aspects shown on the screen here impact an area of an application rollout. This simply demonstrates that Evergreen's vast, it's broad, touches many areas of IT infrastructure. The process of one simple application to go through a rollout and a UAT change may be dependent on various other changes to complete a satisfactory UAT pass in preparation for the application release to the end users. A quick point to note, Microsoft have really adapted change well and fast over the last few years, and they've really embraced Evergreen. Gone are the days of Office versions, Office 2010, 2013, 2016, etc. It's now Office 365, or it's now been renamed as Microsoft 365. Also, Windows 10 is kind of now stayed stagnant on that release version, and we've had many build version releases of Windows 10 through its Windows as a Service update channels through the semi-annual channel. In addition, Edge has moved forward in the browser world of Microsoft. No longer have they got versioning around their browsers. So Microsoft have really adopted well to the agile mentality, the continuous development approach of their base operating system, their browser, their Office product, to make those changes as seamless to the end user as they possibly can. And that generally is exactly how Evergreen IT should work. But touching on the application rollout piece, many applications still very much rely on a specific version of Windows or Office, and they also rely very much on how they're deployed out to the user base. So whether they're using AppV management consoles or Intune or SCCM, they're very much reliant on some of these deployment mechanisms. Okay, so the benefits. We've touched mainly on a lot of these already, but I just want to talk a bit about the first one. So even before as a service option started, having a well-managed IT estate was important in reducing shelfware, shadow IT, and over or underpaying for licenses, which led to $1 million of waste or fines. So now, Evergreen IT environments, having a tightly managed IT estate is more important than ever. Most enterprises today have a real mix of as a service. We see it all the time. Many organizations still rely on Office 2010. They still have large footprint of Windows 7, and they are ever increasing their footprint of Windows 365. So the benefits of Evergreen are definitely to tightly manage your IT estate. I won't touch on all of these. I just wanted to make sure I touched on that one. So the challenges ultimately are a buy-in from the stakeholders and management, continuous budget for improvement, a real agile mindset, not only for adoption of technology, but a willingness to improve consistently, to move away from manual processes and automate as much as you possibly can to achieve. Challenges are still there and will be there, but with automation, we can really change the way people will adopt some of these products. They can now start sort of knitting them together. So just to move on, the 5 best practices to keep in mind when implementing Evergreen IT. So things to really remember and focus on are repeatable tasks and scalable and automated repeatable processes. You can only really aim for a full steam ahead approach when you've really mastered the previous 2 steps. But what to always bear in mind once you do start moving at pace is that you can always add more. There's always more iterative, slight changes you can add in an agile way, and you don't generally have to do everything at once. Especially Microsoft have now adjusted their semi-annual channel for Windows 10 versions that now offer between 18 and 30-month servicing support. There is a bit longer now to get this right. Many organizations still are very much in requirement of setting up scalable, repeated, automated processes so that these changes can be as smooth as possible for future migrations ahead. So how to get started? Generally, you start small. Windows 10 updates using Windows updates or Windows WSUS is the right way to go. Automate wherever you possibly can with your processes, with your tasks, and invest in the right tooling from the start. So that leads nicely into just a short demonstration of what I've touched on earlier, which is our yet to be released this month, our automated testing. So I'm just going to switch over to our product, Access Capture, where we have a new auto launch testing module. The reason this come about is for providing evidence generally in video format of any type of application between any type of Windows 10 build. So we have configured a Windows 10 1709 build and a 1909. I'm just going to send the job to the system. And while that job is creating, so it's job number 286, our automation is nicely connected in with AppV Management Console. It's connected in with Active Directory, with SCCM, with all the latest versions. We are manipulating and setting up a virtual machine to inject the application that I've sent into the machine, which is a 7-zip. That 7-zip version will be installed. It will be distributed via AppV. It will be launched. It will be monitored for any failures or success. And it's all completely hands-off, driven by RESTful APIs. And so that job's sent now for the 1709 build. I believe I kicked that off. So 1709 here. And that automated launch test is in progress. So while that's in progress, I'll just try to start another job of 1909 of exactly the same app. And this will start the same process in creating the same job, the connection groups, the delivery to the machine, the automated test itself. So you can see here both are working away. We have a 1709 machine, a 1909 machine, and I'll just prepare and get ready to show you the video output once these jobs conclude. So we're waiting for jobs 286 and 287s to conclude in the output. This all gets written back to a database as well, so this information can be passed through to any other integrated systems for app lifecycle management. While these are just finishing off, they take a couple of minutes each. I'll just show you some very similar test automation that we've also created called performance testing. I won't start one off because these jobs can take an hour to run, but I set one off earlier at 1:30 today, just so I could give you a view while the other ones are concluding of the automated performance testing. So just like smoke testing an application, we can also gather back all of the performance information of a test. So we've run an automated test of 7-zip on a machine, and it's provided back a successful test on this release. So this is actually Windows 10 1809 build version. So we're capturing all that information in. We didn't ask any questions for it, but we did ask to look at performance information based on a 1 hour duration of a machine, just to see if we can tackle any spikes of memory or CPU that the machine is running at the time the application was launched. So that just gives you an idea of what we can achieve with performance testing. We can stipulate not just these performance counters, but we can use any performance counters tracked by WMI, and that's all configurable in the tool. So I'll just go back to the list jobs. So the first job's complete. The 1709 job is actually complete. The output is number 286. So I'll just run this up while the ID job 287 is finishing off. So this machine is a 1709 version. I'm playing the video here just to show that we're launching up. 7-zip has been installed on this machine and has 2 icons, I believe. So we're running up AppV and running up both icons, the 7-zip product and the, I believe, the help file. So these are all automatically being installed, launched, loaded, and will close down and provide either a true or false success or fail pass. If this had any technical difficulties, we're capturing all of the event logs and MSI logs, SCCM and AppV management logs. So if we had a false count, we can actually see if there was a problem and what that problem is. But the video clip that's been created shows that this has been a successful launch of this version of 7-zip on Windows 10 1709. And this now will just simply close out. I'll speed it up a bit. It's finished doing its job. So we're just waiting now for the 1909 build to finish. And once that job's complete, I'll be able to show the video of the same application and the same application version, but now tested on another Windows 10 build platform. This is just showing you a one-by-one approach, but the technology is here in the background to either connect your applications from SCCM straight through, point them at an environment, and that environment is depicted by how many virtual machines you have available and ready, so that we can actually run up as many tests as possible. So that 1909 job now is complete, and 287 folder video proof. So this is a newer version of Windows 10. As you can see, the background here is a newer, refreshed version. This is the 1909 default vanilla build, and the app-v instance has installed neatly and easily onto this box, and it will launch the rest of the icons and close out. So we've had a successful launch test of the same product, but on two very different Microsoft Windows 10 builds. So people would take confidence in their testing ability, whether or not they want to run through a Evergreen UAT test manually per application per Windows 10 build, or if they would like to run through an automated, more smoke test approach, which this is, or if indeed they would like to gather in preparation for VDI environments any performance related testing. So these environments can be used across all of our workflows and modules that we can either do discovery, sequencing, virtualization, MSI packaging, MSIX packaging against any Windows 10 environment, singularly or on bulk, and we provide the output either with documented in Word documentation directly into the SQL output, or also as a video output with full login and search capability across the database. So I just wanted to show that at the end of this webinar, and now open up to any Q&A if there is any.
Hi, it's Tony here. Has anyone got any questions? I can't really see any in the chat box, so people must be shy at the moment or just bamboozled by what Dave has shown you. But we're always open from the email addresses that are on your screen at the moment if you'd like to ask questions in the future or in the days ahead even. And we'll get back to you very, very quickly. But thank you very much for attending this webinar, and I think Dave's done a great job, and hopefully it's all got through to you and resonated in the right sort of way. But I'll give it back to you, Dave. Anything else you want to close on?
No, thank you, Tony, and thanks for joining, and we'll be back in touch soon. Our next webinar will be in a few weeks, where we'll be demonstrating some more product features. The release of these UAT modules are going out imminently. The next webinar is our MSIX integration and demonstrating our capabilities to enhance already our existing packaging and virtualization capabilities. We're adding the MSIX and demonstrating how that will work in containers. So look out for that one in the next few weeks. So thanks everyone for joining, and I'll close the webinar down there. Thank you.